Hi friends, it's Terri Gaines. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share a fun fold card created with the Country Birdhouse bundle. This bundle is a stamp set with 13 images and then dies that have 23 dies in here. The stamp set and dies are bundled together for 10% savings, or you can purchase them separately. There are some images in the stamp set that can be cut out with the dies. There's some sentiments, some decorative images to help decorate the birdhouse, and a background stamp. Along with these dies, you have dies for some floral images. You have dies to help decorate the birdhouse, along with a pedestal. Now this pedestal can be rotated either way. I'm going to be rotating it the opposite way as shown in this. I am going to be using the Country Woods 12 by 12 Designer Series paper for the decorative parts of this card, and I love this paper. If you are have been watching some of my videos on my YouTube channel and my blog posts, you will see that I have used this a lot. I love the 6 double-sided designs. They have wood grains on both sides of the paper and multiple different colors, and it's very versatile for all your paper crafting projects. It is 12 by 12 in size, and currently this month, August 2024, it is on sale for 15% off. So I'm going to work through all the pieces to make this card first. And as I work with that, I do want you to know that I have a PDF that you can download with all the measurements so you can duplicate this project. The card base is 8.5 by 5.5. It is scored at 4 1/4. It's scored at 5 7/8. It's scored at 6 3/8. And also at 8 inches. So I have all of those scores scored here. Now what I'm going to do is assemble the card base, and then I'll talk through all of these pieces as we work with them. So with this card base, what I like to do for assembly is use Terri tape. So I have Terri tape set aside here, and I'm going to apply it on that 1/2 inch tab, the tab that is between the 8-inch mark and the end of the paper here. So Terri tape is a strong adhesive. If you have a different adhesive you'd like to use, you are welcome to use that. So what I'm going to do is take my bone folder, and first of all, I'm going to fold the card in half. I'm going to fold it with all the score lines on top and the adhesive on the top on the right-hand side, and I'm going to crease that score line. The colored cardstock I'm using for this project is Pool Party. So now I'm going to take my bone folder and actually crease all of these score lines in the same direction. So we talk mountain folds and valley folds. So if you look at it this way, they're all mountain folds. And it's going to create this pop-up panel right on the edge. How I like to assemble this is I open it up, adhesive on the bottom, then I take the first 2 panels. So on the second score line, I fold that. The edge of the card should be really close to the center fold of the card. So then what I do is I take the backing off of my adhesive, and if you have trouble getting it off, press down, friction, and will help release this backing. And the take your pick tool is also helpful. Now what I do is I take this back panel and I fold it down on top of that adhesive. It does buckle, it does not lay flat most of the time. And that's okay, because now we can flatten it. So hold right on the fold and take your bone folder and crease that and make that lay flat. We want to make sure it lays flat. The next layer I have identified is Designer Series paper. I'm using that one of the Designer Series papers in the Country Woods Designer Series paper pack, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal to adhere this. So I am going to just apply my adhesive on this layer, and most of the time I'm deciding what side of the paper to use. I know I'm going to use this side, but then it gets difficult. Do I want the lighter color on the top or the darker? I tend to always put the darker on the top, but there's no wrong way to do this. And depending if you're cutting out this Designer Series paper, depending on what section you cut, you might have a different layout here. So this is placed with equal spacing on the top, the left side, and the bottom. I let the other fall into place because it gets camouflaged. So that gets layered or adhered on that panel. Then I have what I call a card base layer. Now, if you watched my video yesterday, I had the wrong measurements. I did correct that on the PDF. This is actually 3.5, not 4, and it's 5.25. I texturized this with the Timber 3D folder just to add some texture to that. And I'm calling this the card base layer because this layer gets adhered to this card base. So it's really like the inside layer here. So I look for equal spacing on the top, the right side, and the bottom, and adhere that. And then it should fall into place on that side. So that is those pieces here. Now for this one, we have the birdhouse image, and I'm calling it out as Designer Series paper and cardstock or cardstock. Designer Series paper by itself is, I think, not strong enough, a little bit flimsy. So I'm going to use both of these. And let me see, I didn't bring my silicone craft mat into the picture, but I do like to use that on when I'm working with these smaller pieces. So what I'm going to do is assemble this for you. I want to show how I put all of these pieces together. With the Country Woods or Country Birdhouse dies, you get this die. So I cut the Designer Series paper from that. And then you also get a circle die that you can cut an opening. So that's what I did to create that. I also just used that die to create one with the cardstock for the backing. I stamped and die cut the bird. And then for the rest of these layers, not all of them, let me talk about this one first. I cut that one with early espresso, and then I texturized that with the Timber 3D. So that's going to be part of our decoration. Then I did these two. These two I used adhesive sheets on the back. Adhesive sheets, I absolutely love working with those when I have smaller die images. You get 12 in a package. They're 6 inches by 12. I cut them down to size, and I just put all my extra pieces in here. So I've got this one cut down to size. And I've cut, when I say cut down to size, it's the same size as the cardstock I want to work with. So what I like to do is bring my Simply Scoring tool back into the picture for the wall it has right here. So how I work with this, the backing has 2-inch strips. So I only peel off one 2-inch strip, and then I turn it and place it in upside or adhesive side up. There's no adhesive, or the piece of backing is still on this side. Then what I'm going to do is take my cardstock. I'm putting this right into the corner, and then I'm going to put this in the corner on top of it and let it fall down onto that adhesive that is exposed there. Then I'm going to turn it the other direction, get that backing off, put that down, and then get this backing off. Now I have adhesive on the back of my early espresso cardstock. And now what I can do is take this to my die cutting machine and cut this out. Now I do have another tip for you. I found these at the Dollar Tree. These are transparent Post-it notes or sticky notes. I like to, what I do is I just cut into them and then just tear part of it. This helps me keep this in place. So I can place that down and put it on my die cutting machine platform and cut that out. So these are at Dollar Tree. So that's what I did for this piece. And I also did that for the white piece. So let's assemble the birdhouse. So first I want to color this in. What I like to do for coloring these in is using the blends. I use all the light colors. Light color of petal pink. I like using the brush tip. And what I'm going to do is just color this portion of the bird in. Now this is going to be peeking out of this hole. So I don't need to color the feet in because they're going to be hidden. You're not going to see that part. I'm going to use the light pecan pie to color the bird in. And with the blends, it is so easy to color in. They blend really well. And if you want a little bit darker color, for example, I'm going to just go over the wings again, just to get the wings a little bit darker. So you can color those in. And then for the beak, I am using the light pumpkin pie. I still like working with that fine tip because if you Don't press too hard. As soon as you touch your paper, the ink flows and you can get lots of detail in there. So as I mentioned, this is going to be peeking through here, so I didn't need to color the rest of that in. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to put my adhesive just around the hole of this birdhouse. And then what I'm going to do first is just curve that bird a little bit, stick it through here, and let it stick to that adhesive that I just put around there. Now I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to take one dimensional and put right there on the bird, and then I'm going to bring my double-sided adhesive in, or just apply that, and then I'm going to line this up. I always start from the roof top, and I use my fingers for alignment, and just line that up. If I get that lined up, the rest of this should fall into place. So as I mentioned, this needs to be a cardstock, not just the designer series paper. Now to add the rest of these, for this I do not have the tear and tape, or I'm sorry, the adhesive sheet behind that. So I'm just going to attach that. Now these pieces have tear and tape. So now, because I showed you how we did that, you can take the backing off once you cut that off, and now you have adhesive on that entire piece of cutout cardstock. So what I'm going to do is line this top up, and line the side up, and line this side up, and here adhere that. And then I also did this decorative scalp part. I used the basic white for this and adhesive sheet also. And let's see if I can get that backing off. Here we go. Get that started. I'm going to work with that, putting that into the corner there. And there we have the decorative birdhouse. I am going to be adding some more flowers to it, so we have that. So this birdhouse is going to go right on this panel and it's going to pop up. The sentiment, inside sentiment, is going to be hidden behind that. So that means that inside sentiment can't go this far because I want this to be right on the center of this panel. So that inside sentiment can only be 1.5 inches or 1 7/8. What I did was I actually used the Nested Essential dies. I used the second largest one for the early espresso and the third largest one for the basic white. I stamped with a sentiment, and I believe this one is from the Country Floral that coordinates with this stamp set. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it really close to the inside of the card, equal spacing on the top and bottom, and place that like so. Now this is where you could sign the card. If you don't want to sign the card, I've added a back sentiment layer, which I'm using the largest and the next to the largest with the same 2 colors. Now when you recreate this card, maybe your cardstock, your card base is basic white. In that case, you could just sign the back of the card and add that. So that's for the back. So now we're going to attach the birdhouse. What I did mention that I'm going to use this pedestal. So I would most of the time put it this way, but it would have to determine the length of it. So it rotates either direction. You don't need to use it in that direction. And since I didn't bring my silicone craft mat over here, I'm going to use this tear and tape. It's narrower than my tape runner, and you can use your liquid glue, you can use whatever your favorite glue is. And now what I'm going to do is turn this and have this pedestal right on this panel, make it level here, and have it go all the way up here. Now that I have that, now the last thing we have to do is a few more embellishments, but also put the birdhouse on. So now that I have it this way, how high I put this, it doesn't matter, and I don't have to trim the bottom off. Now this placement is determined by centering it on this 1/2 inch panel, but also to hide this label back here because we don't want that visible when the card is closed. So I'm going to place it like here, and it's going to hide that label. I'm going to put my finger right here, and that's going to be my guide that the dimensional I place is not higher than that. The other guide is going to be, for the lower part, is going to be right at the label, and then I'm going to place 2 right between that. This is where the birdhouse is going to be attached, and I'm going to take the backings off. Let's see, did I get that last one off? Yep. And now, as I mentioned, now the goal is to center this, like the point of this is right between this half, right in the center of that. Center that, hide the inside sentiment, and hide the dimensionals. So you can just kind of look at that and decide, okay, I'm going to place it right like so. So now this card, when you open it up, the birdhouse pops open, and it's a nice card that displays very well. I do have a few more embellishments for this. I have the Hello Friend, which is part of the Country Birdhouse stamp set. I'm going to place that when the birdhouse is on, then I can place that, kind of decide how I want to place that. With this die set, you also get all these flowers. I cut some of them out already using the Country Woods Designer Series paper. I took my mini glue dots and I attached them with mini glue dots already. So I have the flower attached to the greenery, and it's laying right here on a mini glue dot. So I can pick that up, and I want to have the leaves on that early espresso just to pop out the color. And this one I'm going to place, I think I'll just place that one right here. I'm going to add embellishments to this card. I'm going to be using the iridescent foil gems. These got a gold foil fleck in them. I love using them with the Country Woods Designer Series paper, and they add so much to your project. And I'm going to use a small one on the small flower and the larger one on the larger flower. And that is the fun fold card. I hope you enjoyed this fun fold and like the video. As I mentioned yesterday, I did do another video, and I used the Mediterranean Blooms Designer Series paper, and this was using the labels in the back. So if you're interested in how this one is assembled, I will link the video in the text portion of this video. I do have PDFs for both of these projects, and they can be found on my blog. If you found me via YouTube, look in the text portion of the video, and you'll get a link to the blog post to download the PDF. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and take care and happy creating.